Brendon's back from his globe-trotting trip across the States. It's good to have you back, Brens. You were sorely missed here at the office. Loads to talk about. Tons of travel, conferences, clients, all sorts of learning. So we are to unpack it all. Brens, welcome back again.
Sure, thanks, Dave.
Trip kicked off in New York, right?
Yep.
Apple.
Started at Big Apple. There was the FinTech Week there. So organized by the FinTech marketing group there. So I went along to 2 or 3 of their sessions there. Some of the more interesting ones were around the in the FinTech space with the banking and stuff, and what they're doing on the more finance side of things, but also now non-finance entities that are now sort of wanting to get into the finance space, especially now with AI and big data. They found out that obviously having massive client lists, the likes of Costco and Walmart and stuff, having a massive amount of sales data on a lot of people, you can start using AI to sort of find ideal people or ideal targets for certain products, either be short-term credit or actually investments. So yeah, we've quite a few banks there looking for new products, kind of thing, in that market. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
How many days were you there for?
We were there for 3 days.
Okay.
In New York. Saw some of the big sites, busy city. Yeah, it was great.
Any lowlights from New York? Anything that didn't go according to plan, out of interest?
No, I think it was. Yeah, I think just seeing the size of it. I think coming to realization of that New Yorkers have quite a stern personality was quite an interesting one. I was running in what felt like almost like the N2 around Central Park, and I dare stepped outside of a line, and I got a tongue lashing.
Oh, really?
From a cyclist who I thought I obviously stepped in front of a peloton. It was just him on his own doing his own session. So yeah,
intensity is quite high there.
Yeah, the intensity is very high. Like, you watch where you go and get your stuff done.
Does that flow into the way that people do business there, accounting profession and otherwise?
I think the way they do business, but I think I must say the welcomingness was amazing. So I was meeting all these guys for the first time. It was really good just to hear some of the insights and stuff. So I was chatting to some of the guys, one of the guys from one of the banks there. And I said, well, he's dealing a new product there. And I said, well, surely, like, for you guys in America, like getting away from checks and cash is like a big one, like a new product. And interesting to see that the appetite there isn't quite there just yet, because I think
it's interesting.
The banks do quite well from those methods still.
The legacy.
Their legacy. So they're not too rushed to think. And they even had a discussion about what is the benefit? Have they seen any benefit of instant payments?
Word.
And using like providers for that. Whereas I think in South Africa, everyone has a little tick box on your internet banking if you want to make instant payment, where that's a standalone feature which someone can provide to you regardless of your bank. Yeah, exactly. So from the one side of that, then chatting to some of the AI stuff that they're using on some of their massive data sets and how they're structuring that. It's got quite a stark
AI theme runs deep.
Yeah, throughout.
Before we leave the Big Apple and go into the next city, was there a key takeout? If you had to distill a single, this was the main thing I took from New York, relevant to Resource Plus and maybe personally?
I think just the way we're looking at the problems that people are solving and integrating that, so whether it be AI or programs, it's just how you get people to buy into those. So I think a lot of the stuff was AI and new product rollout and stuff within a business. And yes, you can have the most amazing product. The guys showcase it as incredible. It does amazing work. But like, if you don't have 95% of your staff utilizing it, it becomes a problem of either rubbish data in, rubbish data out. So if not everyone's plugged into that and not everyone's using the program, so there was some really good insights on how they got people to buy into this, or whichever program they used. Like one was an insurer, and how they best got all their agents to capture the stuff and actually then benefit everyone. So I think that's regardless of what entity you're in, when you're rolling out and trying out new tech, is how to get that buy-in from everyone.
Change management.
Yes.
That's the big barrier. Okay, it's interesting. Few days in New York. Where were you off to next?
Into Seattle. Spent the Friday and the weekend there. Chatted to some people there. Also, interesting movements around there, especially in the PE base, around the audit firms there. Obviously, been a big merger with Baker Tilly and Moss Adams. Big takeaway there, I think, is just looking at culture. And I think even small things like people's logos and the way they dress for work for the work week and stuff, like how they're going to integrate that in between.
As simple as that.
As simple. I think a lot of people do. I think see the bigger picture and how you can get efficiencies and get access to specialists in certain industries, etc. Maybe grow your footprint. So I think they see that, and I think they see like auditors and audit basically, and you can sort of got similar software, especially with DAS coming, which is like a global audit tool, I think, which a lot are adopting. I think they're seeing that's you can sort of get along, but I think it's that culture kind of thing where it's so important to bring it in. So like, are we all going to be under one? Are we changing our colors? That kind of thing, like small things like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. So I think a lot of people do focus on the bigger picture, whereas I think maybe other people in the organization who are doing everything else, other things there might be other priorities.
And was there any conferences in Seattle, or was that more just prospects, existing clients? Yeah. Okay.
Making sure I cover all the time zones in the US, so from East Coast to full West Coast.
Any run-ins with the cyclists, or what? At like a personal level, is there how different is Seattle to?
I think just the level of infrastructure there is incredible. It's amazing to see how infrastructure can change cities and stuff. So they just finished a large rail link. They were just opened up. So the hotel I actually stayed at was at the end of a new rail link, which made it really easy to get out to. And some of the people I chatted to in the area there were saying, like, listen, before that you would have had to take a bus and a this and a that, and now getting to the city is just a 15-minute commute and I think that's where you notice that in the States, well, especially in the places I went to, is how connected the cities are. And so you may have a downtown and whatever, but the urban sprawl is sort of supported by the train system, the buses, and they're all reliable and stuff. So similar to like we would run around London.
Yeah, imagine that in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And you think about how challenging, you can almost not even consider a career prospect in the northern suburbs.
Yeah.
To the southern, it's a career limiting thing for many people.
So yeah, you're seeing in like the likes of Seattle, people we chatted to there, like when you're seeing, like they talk about when you're on this Sky Needle there, and they look across and like, oh, that is Microsoft. I'm like, what do you mean that's Microsoft? They're like, oh no, there's a town there, but it actually was built around Microsoft's offices there, kind of thing. It sort of
crazy
grew an ecosystem, and then they were saying, like, comparing to like the construction since 2014, 2015, where if you're lucky, you maybe seen 4 or 5 cranes kicking around Cape Town or Joburg, where the entire skyline has sort of jumped up a bit. So that is one of those things. It's booming, it's growing, and the other side of that is obviously having to get those rail links and stuff, new highways to go down. So that's the biggest thing. Is the infrastructure there. Went on like a 60-kilometer cycle on what they would call a bike trail, which is like a road, a normal road in South Africa, but around lakes, connecting towns, all just for cycling. So yeah, it's big difference there. And yeah, the people there are also very interesting. So went and sat down at a little pub of Forries there, kind of thing, and ended up speaking to a bunch of like SpaceX and Amazon engineers. But it was interesting to hear their views of obviously chatting to a South African who isn't coming to farm and do other stuff. It was great.
Did they ask you what your refugee status is?
Yeah, no. I showed them my passport, and we were all good going back.
Did they ask about stuff like that out of interest? I mean, media makes us feel like it's this major topic of conversation there.
No, I think probably I did try and use that joke quite a few times, and I think it only like landed like a 1 out of 5 times. They were like, "What do you mean, farmer?" I'm like, well, obviously,
tough crowd.
Tough crowd, yeah. They went so.
Any lowlights out of Seattle? Anything there that was maybe not as expected?
No, I think it's I think just it is like amazing. I think it's the highest percentage of Tesla and Rivian ownership. So just seeing like that many, like in the rest of the country, sort of there's one. There it's sort of all over the place. So yeah. It's interesting.
Big adopters there.
Yes.
Okay, so Seattle. Where's next?
Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas.
in typical Vegas fashion, you're not allowed to tell me what happened.
No, I think it was, we went there.
We just gloss over.
5 days of conference. We just, lovely
big
weather.
Conference in Vegas. Yeah. I mean, that was the kind of the main event.
I think everything's big in Vegas. So this was 5,500, 6,000 people, 5 days, the AICPA, engaged 25. Quite interesting. I think it's the 9th year of it happening.
Okay.
Next year's the 10th. And what I've chatted to quite a few people who've been there for who've been going along to this conference and the predecessors. It used to be like an audit conference, a financial planning conference, practitioners conference, tax conference, but obviously all those were all CPAs. And 9 years ago, they're like, listen, well, yes, there is the benefit of the siloed updates. Like a lot of them are saying, like some of the best tax updates get to speak to the people that are helping writing the legislation and understanding the reasons behind some of it. So there's a lot of tax partners was telling me, like, listen, it's great going there. You can actually find the people who were part of that legislation and then pick their brains on it at lunch and stuff. So then you can sort of like, well, listen, I see you had a good talk on this. I've got this problem. And he says you build those relations there, which helps.
And did you find that materialized in the real world? Like, did you see someone there, it could be tax, could be whatever, where there was a question and that access materialized? It was like, I could go and quiz the person, have the conversation. So that's a legitimate I think real world gain. It's not just...
They took the way they structured it with an online app during the talk. They made very careful, and I think it was very planned out that there was like a 10-minute session at the end of the talk for questions, and they also had like moderators as well monitoring that. So if there was like a really hot topic question, so like someone said, listen, we're going through the latest one of the going concern things, or and they said, what is we're talking about period of which is valid kind of thing. And the person said, well, then from next year it's changing. And then like, but we all know about that and we're on with it. And someone's like, whoa.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What update?
So yeah, it's interesting. So someone was like, can we stop that? So they were very active like that. And then asking those questions. And it was also quite interesting because it almost kept the presenters also a bit honest with a lot of their talks, just on the if they were like, I want to say, straying off topic or something. Like people would be asking, the questions would come up, like, is this not about X, Y, Z kind of thing? And let's get back to that kind of thing.
Intimidating as a presenter.
So yeah, but I think it's good because you can, at least I think when you have that audience participation, you can sort of guide the conversation, especially when there's, let's say, maybe a smaller audience of 60. instead of like a 300 or 400, and you can sort of tailor it to, like, oh, guys, if you're facing this problem, who's facing this problem? You can see half the room put their hand up. You're like, okay, let's spend 10 minutes here. And sometimes they're like, oh, has anyone done this? And like, no one's like, everyone, there was like maybe 2 or 3 people. They're like, okay, well, let's just skip over that because it's not as relevant.
Okay, interesting.
So it was nice to be able to.
Sounds very interactive.
It is quite it was very interactive, and I think even afterwards, people would stay, ask the questions, or even afterwards in the lunches, have those conversations. Like, I saw you asked a question about that. I've actually had a similar thing. Here's how we did it, kind of thing.
Okay. It's a long conference. It's a good couple of days. Could you summarize key topics and points, and we can maybe...
Yeah, so I think they broke it up quite nicely. I think the first day was like a quick intro, I think, just to get people checked in and all that. There was a newcomer cocktail evening.
Okay.
It was quite nice. Just you started off and then
drinks, yeah.
Welcome drinks, and then the first day there was some technical sessions in the morning, and then it kicked off with the proper keynotes. So it was very interesting. They had an economist and one of Trump's first-term advisors in there. So it's great to hear that their insights there, obviously looking at the current situation, and then some short sessions that day, and then it followed the next 2 days. Again, sessions in the mornings and afternoons, followed by some networking and going look at the exhibitors, the 2 massive exhibit halls, which they had there, and then the last day, a final keynote, also hot topics in the geopolitical issues, and then some more sessions. And the sessions were nice. They're sort of blocked into practitioners and audit and stuff and tech. So you didn't have to stay in your lane. So it was quite interesting going around. So yeah.
So you summarized, we shot a few shorts earlier where you summarized some of those topics. Should we run through what some of those were for you? Your personal summary of that.
Yeah.
The one being that really surprised me was the forecast of an economic downturn, and the impact that might have on how people are structuring their labor, and where does the impetus come from that says there's a downturn?
So that was from the keynotes, one of the big things there. The last 2 years have been, I think, for all the CPA's clients, and obviously then the CPAs, it's been a good 2 years. Obviously with the bit of political instability and no one sure what's going on with the tariffs. I think a lot of people have sort of, if there were importers, have sort of stocked up for the next 6 months, and sort of taking a wait and see approach. Obviously, which is sort of some of the conversations I had. People were looking at like an offshoring model for their staff, set up an entire office, say in Cape Town or Joburg or other countries. Which is obviously quite capital intensive, but obviously to get access to that trusted talent, but at a lower price point. And someone now have sort of pressed pause on that, whereas obviously it's important to now that there's a bit of a...
That offshoring is the company itself setting up
another company
in that territory, owning the labor themselves, all the admin, everything that it comes with.
Laptop.
So it's very onerous. Yeah.
Big capital spend, but for a long-term thing.
So there's a lot of people that were communicating they've had that plan. It's on us as a result of lots of geopolitical things and they're forecasting there's going to be a downturn in business. It hasn't yet materialized.
Hasn't even materialized, but I think everyone's quite cautious. I think it's like a wait and see approach, just for the next 6 to 8 months, while things sort of settle themselves out, when everyone's sort of got an idea of what the tariffs are going forward. Then I think, so I think there were some good conversations there in terms of the outsourcing, because then it's still access to talent.
Does that lend itself
yes,
well to you guys as an opportunity?
Yeah, because obviously we cover the hiring, the recruitment costs, obviously
tell you what I need and you deliver the
laptops and everything. We sort that out. We then sort everything out, and it's a very low risk, but you still get that cost saving benefit on their side, and availability to that quality staff. Because
So
obviously,
good couple of conversations there. I mean,
Yeah.
is that people are
I think a lot.
receiving that quite well? And what is their viewpoint when that conversation comes up of South Africa as a territory to do that? Because who are the big outsourced territories? Is India, there's
Philippines, and then like South Africa are the main ones.
Okay. And what's the viewpoint generalizing now? I mean, you're speaking to hundreds of people there. What is the view on South Africa?
So I think everyone's looking for they're almost looking for like a mix. So a lot of people who may have an Indian team, etc., but they are now looking for a mix, because once they have India on the one time zone, they're on one time zone, and they've seen the benefits of the differing time zones. So if you can pick up a South African team that can maybe do a slightly different level of work and at a different time, you can, if you manage it well, you can reap the benefits of almost like a 24-hour audit. We have an Indian team doing one thing and a South African team doing one thing. So we had discussions around that with one or two clients this week, just asking about that, where they've
crazy the world we're living in.
Seen that, yeah.
And what is there a strong integration between you and that India team, or would you be dealing with clients in America?
So we would be straight with a client on.
They have to harmonize that between themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Well, that's good to hear. I mean, something's got to pay for the bills and all this lavish travel. Is there an expected date they assume that this downturn is going to materialize?
No, I think, as you are pretty well aware, I think with the current geopolitical movements, I think it's from tweet to tweet, or post on X to post on X is where it sort of happens, especially now with the stuff kicking off around the world. I think it is a case of there's going to be a bit of turmoil, wait and see. Clients aren't going out into new territories, etc. So the people that the CPAs around them are sort of similar. So yeah.
Now, interestingly linked to that, so I'm intrigued that they're forecasting a downturn, which, just based on my own content consumption habits and what a lot of things are pointing to, if anything, it looks like things will be on the up. So
yeah,
I hope they're wrong. But you then also shared another interesting fact with me, where when they look at the income of accountants, and again, generalizing, that's up 20%.
Yeah, so the AIPC.
Do you want to explain that one to me?
But there was a big push in the last, I think, 5 to 10 years, where they've seen there has been a talent crisis in the US. Having chatted to quite a few people there, there is a talent shortage. I think maybe crisis in certain areas, but I think there are people coming through now, so they have seen the uptick in number of people writing the CPA on that side. From that, I think one of the things to maybe try and pull people back into the industry is the increase in the salary. So they've said they've seen anywhere between 15 and 25% increase in salaries for starting off in your accounting and audit.
Concerted effort being made to make it more attractive.
Make it more attractive. So that's where it's come from.
That was an increase year on year. That's not over the last.
That's year on year. Well, from the stats they've put on the screen, that was what they said. So that, and then the amount of people studying that post honors accounting degrees also increased. So there is an increase. So I think what we're also seeing, the clients that we've chatted with and other people in the industry, is the people coming in aren't necessarily, they're not finding a problem getting the first, second years in there. I think it's once the guys get to their third year, maybe they haven't passed CPA yet, but then they're getting offers from out of industry into corporates, where the people are like, listen, you know your stuff, you've been there, they've worked with you, kind of thing. Come this way without having to then incur the cost of CPA and sort of move across. So I think that's where they're seeing a little bit of a gap of that at audit senior level. People are experienced, know what they're doing, can run an audit on their own, and then free up time for like the manager and partner to then be reviewing and stuff.
So that's where the gap is. Most people are leaving, going to corporate for greener pastures,
Yes.
greater money. And you say to avoid the cost of doing CPA. Is that a barrier?
For some people, apparently it was.
Okay.
I think it is, one of the things they've mentioned. But I think they do have programs to try and soften that or make a plan around that to make sure that it is less of a barrier.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, big push.
Again, lends itself well to the capabilities that you guys have and the skill set that sits. And did those conversations materialize as well? I'm guessing. In terms of, okay.
Especially on that, because I think when you sit down, there's a talent crisis, and you're like, well, from what we've seen, I don't know if it's across the board. It's not like, can we have someone from day one? They're like, well, actually, we can find the first 1, 2, 3 years. It's that 4th year, 5th year. If someone with like 2 years experience as a CPA, they're starting to fill those roles.
Keep people in the industry there. Okay, interesting. AR. I mean, it feels like we've been talking about this for a very long period of time, but it is the conversation is evolved from our last conversation, which felt like it was yesterday.
Yes.
And it seems like the AR trend generalizing it's maturing, it's deepening. It's not process efficiency. It's not do an audit quicker. No. Like that's like a given.
Yes.
And if it isn't, you're in trouble. It's gone tenfold.
Yeah.
So what were some of the...
So like even walking through the exhibit halls with all the exhibitors, like you felt like if someone didn't come forward, everyone had like their AI kind of thing, which is interesting because I think even the legacy large providers, I think, are also sometimes trying to play catch up with some of the smaller entrants in the market who have seen a gap kind of thing. We're agile enough to sort of set up something which works quite well. Maybe not do the entire thing, but sort of link into like a working paper workflow, so that kind of thing. Okay. So you've seen the legacy guys almost trying to catch up, and so they're very big on what their AIs can do, and then obviously being very cognizant of what if they're doing is actually AI, not just a script they're running.
There is a lot of things masquerading as AI that isn't really, and but again, the market maturing understands you almost go there with, this is what I'd like AI to be able to do for me, and you may be more shopping at a more sophisticated level, as opposed to the cognitive dissonance of AI becoming a real thing, where it's like, AI is just...
So I think you sort of need you need a problem that needs to be solved. And then you sort of find the AI that best suits that, or best solution that helps with that. Because otherwise, it's sort of, you're trying to shoehorn a cool AI to fix a problem you may or may not have.
Exactly.
It may fix some of the problems, but I think one of the big things, one of the talks they were saying, is like, it's not just doing stuff faster. We can tick and bash faster. It's a case of how do we get better audit quality evidence using AI? Obviously, there's still the data rubbish in, data rubbish out kind of problem. But I think the thing is, it really is I think that there's that next step between just doing things faster last year and now sort of starting to rely on the analytics and almost that ability to auto-match things from a client system to their ERP to your audit file kind of thing. And then just be homing in on audit testing, finding the real problem issues in an audit. Like either journals that weren't done correctly, invoices that weren't matched properly, those kind of things.
And that's going to probably happen at light speed and become a thing of the past, and then it's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
So like sampling, I reckon, is going to change dramatically. Where it's like, you have a statistical sample of a population, where you're going to be probably running an AI with a whole bunch of prompts which have been checked.
Perfectly lends itself to that.
Massive data. Go look at the 97,000 transactions, and then it will then tell you, listen, out of all the data we've seen, these are the 4 you should probably look at. Or hopefully not like 80.
I mean, that's not even a hunch. That's going to happen. It's a case of when.
But I think it's then getting the trust from that you know what's, because I think that's the biggest thing at the moment. They were saying the biggest hurdle before going full AI is this.
And who's checking?
Who's checking that? How does it get to that answer?
Someone has to.
Yeah.
Is that a good lead into DAS?
Yeah, I think it's, from what I've
My new acronym for the week.
Yeah, the digital audit solution. So that's, I've quite a few audit firms I spoke to, also within the network, are either have been implementing or starting to implement DAS as audit software. Currently in the States, so they have GARP and a few other GARP iterations. Not a IFRS. So either the UK guys will use IFRS. They haven't got a version of that yet, but it's using almost like, I want to say, group research, best ways to test things, methodologies, etc. And then using that in the audit files, still customizable per firm, but you sort of know you're on the right track to start with, based on the AICP guidelines and stuff. So quite a few firms are taking that. I think there's 11,500 people that have used it and 5,000 engagements so far. So
wow.
It's here, it's coming, and it's interesting to see how many people are currently. That was a lot of big talking.
So that should significantly alter the presumed tech stack for a typical audit firm.
Yeah, so that I think is Paceware cloud based.
Yeah.
So then a lot of people will be migrating towards that.
Yeah.
And then going from there. I think
and you guys?
We are already on Caseware Cloud, obviously not using the DAS workflow, but a lot of the UK guys are already on the Caseware Cloud. And the guys
on the front foot there.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself having conversations with people around that where you were maybe having a more advanced conversation than they were expecting you to have, just out of interest?
In certain side of things, especially on some of the more technical topics we went to, like the going concern, cash flow analysis, those ones. I think the discussions there were quite technical, because I think a lot of the big, what I saw is there were a lot of comparisons. This is the new or current going concern standard in the States. This is what ISO 570 says, kind of thing. And it's like, these are the differences. So it is quite interesting. Having known, I've got there with a strong knowledge of the international stuff. So it's interesting to see where the deviations come from, and having those discussions on the table where you're looking at, from your signing date, a cash flow forecast of 12 months where they are not doing that. So you're sort of like, oh, how did you get comfort over that? And just hearing what their side of the story, or what how they get comfort there.
Juicy debates. I mean, that's the detail you'd expect. That does bundle up all quite nicely into what I think is the final summary point, which is, what the hell do you study now? If you finish school and you're about to like go and decide what's the study, we joked. I was like, oh, Python, and no, not even. Like, AI was doing that for you.
Yes.
I've been playing with a stack called Bolt, and I couldn't believe how quickly I could prompt an entire cafe ordering front end that WhatsApps the order through to you literally in 2 minutes.
Yep. And Martin built that audit game
the audit game, which I'm glad to see how much.
So obviously your time in COVID with Candice has paid off.
I have a deep and profound love and relationship with the accounting profession. I mean, what is the answer to that?
I think a lot of the guys, that was the thing. Like, it is still a big. So the big thing was a big push for education going forward. It is needed, but then the big thing was that if you're going to make that spend, what would you push people towards? The last 10 years has been, get into coding and understand. And I think it's now that with the current rollout of AI, and AI, once it gets onto quantum computing, is going to be even faster. And then you're going to have to see what kind of, where do you add the value, and where can you unlock value as a human. So it's always like more of the advisory side of things, and the soft side of things, and adding those and that creative touch, which I think the AI stuff sort of becomes very repetitive.
It's very binary. And I mean, I've been consuming a lot of content around this, and there's no technology revolution ever that has had a net negative impact on employment overall.
Yes.
sectors. So anyone that was responsible for monitoring the fax machine no longer monitored the fax machine and upskilled and perhaps was monitoring an email inbox.
Yes.
Very dramatic example. But the general sentiment still seems to be AI is not yet to wipe out the human workforce. It's more, how does the human workforce adapt? And that should inform what type of studying that you need to do.
Agreed. There was, again, a great example that I had, like, when the calculator came out, they're like, that's it, accountants, done. Then it was like, okay, no, that's fine. I suppose you need accountant. And then it's like, no, the spreadsheet's here. You're done. And then it's like, oh, we've got this accounting software. You're done. And like every time,
I'm still standing.
Yeah, I'm still standing. And I'm just finding that it's the monotonous stuff that has been removed. And it's like where you can actually, the people who can add value to your clients, they're the ones that have taken advantage. They now have more time to do stuff that actually matters and that they are passionate about.
Critical thinking.
Yes.
I mean, my opinion, I have 4 children, you have 2, and they are, I mean, our 17-year-olds around the corner from having to make that decision. And our general advice to them stands. If your ambition is to own a business one day, is to be entrepreneurial, if it's to go into a workforce and be a valuable member in a team, study to become a CA, study to become an accountant, because the leg up that gives you, regardless of what that end result is,
which industry,
fundamentally better than anything else is going to give you. And I was having the conversation with someone downstairs today, and actually said, if you could have 2 qualifications, to be the ability to video editing and production and CA.
Yeah.
If you can be those 2 things, you know, could absolutely you can rule the roost. Unless you're Elon Musk or someone like that, you could do pretty much anything. So what is your answer? What is that? What are you telling Marcel and Ben? Your best bet to study is assuming they were 18 now, they're finished up at school and they're ready to.
Sure. I think it is like, I think a safe bet is still that the CA. I think it is, regardless of what tech is out there, people have to know how to use it, how to look after it, and then the nitty-gritty stuff. Because obviously that's a lot of the tech now, or it's going to be through like recording, historical stuff. So you're going to be looking at more forward-looking, that kind of thing. So like I think the CA, your chartered accountant side of things, is still the way to go.
I tend to agree. What was the sentiment in the room? What was their general feel?
I think it is obviously from the industry.
There's a bias there, of course.
There's a slight bias, but I think they didn't provide an answer. I think it's one of those. It was quite a like one of those things that left you like I'm pretty sure. Like,
if anyone went and asked ChatGPT that question, I would be.
I'm pretty sure I actually did. It was like doctor, that kind of thing. For now,
plumber is still a hot topic.
Plumber, like AI is not cleaning, blocking drains, but I think it's a big one.
Anything else?
No, I think it's now off to London and Malta.
First, until you on an airplane again?
4 days. But I think it's first thing again in London is an AI for Accounting Summit. So and then off to Malta and then back in London and Manchester.
Have you got gaps in the diary if anyone wants to see you and quiz you on?
So anywhere from the 25th to the 7th of July, we are in London and are happy to come chat. Lunch, coffees.
We'll hold the fort down while you gallivant the rest of the world. Well done on a very successful trip to the States.
Sure.
I've certainly enjoyed the insights, the learnings, cultural similarities more than differences have been profound to understand. So best of luck with the next trip.
Sure.
Thanks for the chat.
Cool.
Ciao.
Ciao.